The all-new 22 Civic, now on sale at Team Honda on Segan Lane.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's Thursday.
Is it?
Yes, and it's
Friday?
not raining.
It is. Is it just me, or do you kind of want to do this on this lens? Right
I know. We have a couple monitors here at Channel 9 that just have a little burnt out spot.
You know, okay, you want some behind the scenes scoop on this right here. This is our tower. This is so awesome. This is our tower cam right now.
Yes.
And so it works about as well as my bum right shoulder. We can't actually pan it. What we can do is zoom in,
yes,
right? And we can tilt up and down.
Yes.
But it went sideways on its own quite literally a while ago. We can't go back and forth. The only way it goes back and forth is if the wind blows it.
We were fortunate because it was a stuck shot on Exxon a while ago. So now
there you go.
We get the river.
The wind blew it towards the river.
Yes, it did.
So there you go.
So we've got that
Yeah,
for
we got
now.
that. But like you said, it is nice out.
It is.
Not too bad.
But that story is going to change in just a little bit. Same old tune, right? Good rain chances again today, but you can see this morning we were clear. Getting the kids off to school, not a problem. It is later on today, maybe even lunchtime, where you may see some of those storms start popping off, and then into the evening hours, you see all of that.
So kind of similar to what we saw yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And it was right about that bus commute home for a lot of kids. Actually, my daughter goes to school downtown here, and Baton Rouge High, and she texted me. She's like, well, first of all, the bus wasn't working properly. But then she says it's pouring down rain in downtown Baton Rouge. Meanwhile, I got a little thunder and lightning out in my part of the world.
Right up in that commute.
But nothing in the world of rain. So it's just a matter of where you are. So that's the forecast for the today. Do you remember the forecast today 5 years ago?
It is wild to think about. That rain just sat and sat over the capital region, not just Baton Rouge. I still remember very vividly, first day at Channel 9 was back to school in West Baton Rouge.
Yeah, it was your first day.
Second day was go live at one of the sandbag locations at a fire department in Ascension Parish. And then the water started coming down back then we had a show called The Big Extra Hour on WBXH, and then that water started coming down and we kind of went everywhere. We're actually going to talk a little bit more about this in detail on YouTube, for Let's Talk Thursday in just like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just sad.
There's a reason it is one of the top stories today, even though it happened 5 years ago, because it impacted so many people in South Louisiana. It continues to impact people in South Louisiana. We continue to, every time it rains, think back to that moment. And actually, in some places around here, you don't have to think that far back. We've had flood issues, a lot of them in between the now and the then. And so it's a big story because it was then, it remains now. We'll talk a little bit more coming up on YouTube, but clearly it's still an issue in the now.
That's why we were talking live with Livingston Parish President Leighton Ricks this morning about Livingston Parish, one of the heaviest hit parishes, arguably, during 2016. And we're kind of getting an update on where Livingston Parish stood, because when you think about it, for months on end, you couldn't drive anywhere within the parish, within Denham Springs, without seeing debris piled up high. That was just the reality of it. And we were chatting with him today, before and after the interview, and he was saying there are some people who are still recovering.
Yeah, that's true. 5
years later.
And I mean, when you look at that, you can go down those individual roads and you'll see that. Of course, it's well known, Denham Springs itself, all the places that were impacted, the buildings physically impacted. It was like 90% inside the city, and when you get to the parish, ridiculous percentage. The schools that they had to completely raise and rebuild. So they are still just beginning, some of them, to come back. And again, it's not just Livingston. We talked to them a little bit about having the conversations with leaders in Ascension and East Baton Rouge, for instance, because you have to work together to figure out this flood issue.
Right.
It's not just a one parish issue. It's all of us, and if we don't figure it out together, then we're going to keep having these problems.
That's it. So where do we go from here? Well, that continuous conversation is still happening, even on the congressional level.
Exactly right. Okay, so more on that coming up on the YouTubes. Something else that we're talking about today, it is the big back to school week. Like a bunch of first days this week. Actually, a second day over here at Iberville Parish.
Yes, the Bulldogs, the high school there in White Castle. It's their second day back, but they're talking about their Excel program. So Callie was live excelling with the Bulldogs. Wow. They had a lot of beautiful faces waking up early with them. The football team, some cheerleaders, the staff came out there, all to say we are ready to start this new year. We're ready to start this football season. We're ready to do all of the things that students normally do when school starts, right?
Get going. And then plus, having to deal with COVID, and
Yeah.
that is just everybody's top of mind right now. How do you keep the kids safe? We all want to be back in school physically if we can. Obviously, it's that much better than going virtual or some kind of hybrid. It just is that face-to-face, but how do we do it safely? And you can see these guys, obviously, everybody masked up, ready to go. It's just going to be part of the process. COVID, top of mind for everybody.
Yeah, a lot to navigate
It
through
really
here.
is. It really is.
But we are now in what, week 2? We're nearing the end of week 2 of high school back-to-school coverage of our let's say K through 12.
Sure.
Tomorrow we kick off college students getting ready to go back.
That's
so
right.
it is nonstop, but it's exciting nonetheless.
We're at BRCC?
Yep.
Okay, and obviously LSU and Southern around the corner. We're talking about that. We've been talking about a lot of athletics-wise when it comes to LSU and Southern, but yeah, now the actual classroom, the thing that a university is known for, beginning to ramp up and that kind of fun stuff. So
yes, indeed.
yeah, all this. But again, you can see the mask. You can see what one of the main foci are, and it needs to be. And we're starting to see some things come back around that we saw with the last surge.
Pop-up testing sites. Ochsner announcing that they're going to open up a testing site again over there on Harrell's Ferry. It's the old Runnels site.
Right there.
Now, this is because we're seeing an influx of people coming to urgent care clinics, coming to hospitals. Therefore, the wait times are getting harder and higher for other services. Meanwhile, healthcare workers still have to tend to those needs. So if you are going to an urgent care facility just to get tested, or starting tomorrow you need a vaccine, that testing pop-up site at Ochsner is going to have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and they're also offering COVID testing.
And it's a spot that again, as you mentioned, Runnels, the old Runnels School, South Harrells Ferry Road. It's the, 17,000 block South Harrells Ferry. So again, it's a spot they know. If you know if you kind of know the area, you know where it is, easy enough to find. But the whole idea, as you mentioned, to take away some of the pressure on these urgent care facilities, or God forbid, the emergency rooms themselves and these hospitals overall, to take away some of that pressure. This is why that is being set up. And again, testing and vaccines.
Over in Mississippi, we talked about this morning, they're opening up a pop-up testing and vaccine site too at one of their hospitals. One of their local officials there said something very profound. If a school bus full of children were hit, we would not have the capacity to treat that.
What?
That was very alarming to hear that. It's not exaggerated. This is how bad it is in Mississippi and Louisiana and all of the states where you're seeing these low vaccination rates. If a school bus full of children were to get into an accident, they could not treat them.
It's hard for me to understand how some folks still don't understand the serious nature of what our healthcare professionals are going through right now. I'm not sure if they think they're making it all up. I mean, you can go and see this, a lot of this for yourself. Just pull up to the hospital and you can see people in and out all day. Try going into the emergency room. Literally field hospitals being set up at some of our hospitals in Mississippi and into Louisiana, because we are dealing with so much. We heard catastrophic as far as what this healthcare system is going to be looking like. We heard potential failure of the hospital system in Baton Rouge if we continue on this path. It is that kind of level. It's absolutely serious. There's nothing made up about this. It is heartbreaking to see this every single day, and these folks are going through it.
That's it. That's the reality we're dealing with here. And with schools starting up in this week and next week, we anticipate more of these kind of cases to happen, just because, again, when you think about children 12 and under cannot get vaccinated. We've already seen Ascension Catholic High School already have to go to virtual learning from now until next Wednesday because of 15 cases that have popped up. So that's just the reality of how things are going here across the South.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And there always is a lot going on beyond this, beyond the pop-up sites and all this stuff. There is a place that we like to kind of put all that information. Actually, you can be a part of that as well. You can kind of put your own stuff in there. The community calendar here in the 9 News app and the WAFB.com. It's right up there in the little hamburger menu. You'll scroll down, you'll find community, and the calendar's right in it. And there's always a bunch of stuff going on, even in the now times.
If you have some kind of health community clinic going on, if you have a food giveaway, a school supply giveaway, this is the best place for us to know what's happening. Because you can include all the details. You can even include a contact number or information. And again, it's not just us. This is public, where you can submit your own event at the top. Everybody can see it.
It's easy, right there.
Great thing about it.
Go ahead and put it in there. You don't even have to wait on us. Man, I can't get a hold of it. right there.
Right.
You can put it in yourself, boom, 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 all done. And then depending on if we have the time to be able to do it and how large it is and the impact that it could have on community, we'd love to be able to talk a little bit about that. For instance, morning show, that kind of thing, because we have some time to stretch it out over 2.5 hours. But this is where it starts, right there, community calendar.
That's it.
Something we want to do here real quick to make sure you put your eyes on Baton Rouge Police looking for this young woman right here. And have actually been missing since Tuesday.
The thing is she is actually, we're told, mentally challenged, and so police are asking for your help to find her and to track her down and bring her home to family. I know it's kind of hard to see the screen here, but she's 16 years old, last seen in Scotlandville on Tuesday. So if you maybe think you saw her somewhere in the Scotlandville area, maybe you saw someone that looks like her in and around the Baton Rouge area, please call police, please call Crime Stoppers, because her family is looking for her.
16, like you said. So again, another good look, and again, as you can see it right through us here, a good look at her face. So hopefully sometime today, we are reporting on found and okay. I want to be able to be talking about that with you tomorrow morning.
That's something that we want to share.
Exactly right. Yeah. So please, again, it's right there, 9 News app, WAFB.com. Get a good look at the face, and that way, if you see anything, if you know any little bit, and the number, they gave you a number, Crime Stoppers is an easy number to dial as well, because they will get that information to the right place. Always, they'll get that information to the right place.
That's it.
There you go.
That goes for everything here on 9 News Now, the rounding of the headlines. But we still want to talk. It's Thursday.
It is. So what we're going to do is a little bit of this. Where are you now with this flood of 2016? Are you seeing movement in your part of the world? What still needs to happen? This impacted so many. So yeah, let's dig into it. We can dig into it a little bit. We got some time to talk. You want to talk? Come on over to YouTube's.
In the meantime, have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
There you go. Bye now.
The all-new 22 Civic, now on sale at Team Honda on Siegen Lane.
Still here.
Yeah, we didn't go anywhere. Hey,
Hi.
so welcome back to it. And you know, the first thing that you may notice here is the headline. And obviously, it needs to be more than just this. In Baton Rouge, obviously, it was the greater Baton Rouge area, South Louisiana. Livingston got just absolutely wrecked and railed. So did Ascension Parish. So just kind of the Baton Rouge general area. But when you talk about that flood of 16, you were talking about earlier, it was literally, you're welcome to Southeast Louisiana.
Yeah, I still remember everything very vividly, because to me it was like a baptism by water and fire.
Oh my gosh, it was. It really
August 10th, first day Channel 9. August 11th, back to school with live shots at Bruley High School. Their first day excitement, everything was awesome, very happy. And then we knew some rumblings that we were going to get some kind of severe weather, but we did not anticipate it, nor did any of the models show that it was going to be like that. And then that Friday, August 12th, is when the rain started coming down between the end of our big show, which is what we call the 4:30 to 7.
We never stopped.
No.
We didn't. We stayed. You're right.
No.
We stayed on the air.
I still remember our producer at the time telling me in my ear, Liz, we need you to go to Baton Rouge General Mid-City, because it had started flooding on their Mid-City campus there on Florida.
What?
It was bad there, and then they sent us the BRPD on Airline, the headquarters there. Oh my gosh, and then we went to Zachary, and then Baker, and then Central, and then that rain just kept coming down. And y'all know the way our viewing area is set up is that water just keeps flowing south.
Yeah.
So every day we were going to a new parish, a new city to cover what is this water doing?
Exactly.
It was the same story for a lot of families, but it was heartbreaking because you were one of the families impacted by it. But we know a lot of people personally who flooded, who did not anticipate any of this.
Of course not. There was a lot of folks just in this building who took on water. And so when you talk about talking about stories that impact us and the community as a whole, this is obviously one of them. You mentioned where you were. I remember just a couple days doing a back to school story.
Yeah, you were live at Lee High School.
I was there. I was also Livingston Parish doing a quick story on the junior high, the freshman high.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, and then like a few days later, all of a sudden, all of Livingston is just trying to figure itself out. Denham Springs is like just an absolute wreck scene. 90% of the buildings going on. And so you think about where you were, and then all of a sudden now what the water's covering, and where do we go from here? It just became that seminal moment, that defining line. post-flood, pre-flood, post-flood.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're talking now with the pandemic,
right.
pre and post-COVID. It really was, before now, that moment
yeah.
here in South Louisiana. Everything pre and everything post.
And to think how far a lot of areas have come. Yes, we've learned a lot about infrastructure. We've learned clearly about all the shortcomings that have happened, and we're still learning with all of the little rain events that keep happening. And so when you talk about what happened in 2016, a culmination of a lot happened, right?
Yeah.
But a big thing that I also am curious about is that lawsuit with the median along the interstate. Y'all know that concrete barrier on I-12. There was a lawsuit filed saying if that concrete barrier had holes, this flooding event would not have been as severe as it was in 2016. We don't know. We don't know what it is.
I'll tell you this too. Every time that I happen to have the family with me, the wife with me, and we're traveling down either interstate, that kind of thing, and we're going out west, we're going out east, the first thing my wife will do is look for the holes at the bottom of these big barriers, the old K-rail kind of thing.
They're huge. You can't miss them. Yeah.
And she'll look at them, and invariably ain't going to be any holes. And this is like new stuff, new construction in some places. Like, where are the holes? Didn't we not have this conversation after 2016? Where are the holes? And so, would that have helped? To what degree would that have helped? Why are they not being put in some of these new pieces of construction along the interstates here, 10 and 12 in South Louisiana, depending on where you go? It continues to be part of the conversation, but that was a very passionate conversation back then. This would not have been as bad if this were different. But at the same time, a lot of things could have been different. A lot of things need to be different to stop this from happening again. And
it's hard to say, you know, we can't reactively fix construction, right? You've got to be proactive too. But how do you fix that? That's a problem. How do you fix that once that infrastructure is already in place, once homes and subdivisions have been built, once things have been set in motion? That's what a lot of parish councils are trying to accomplish by doing these moratoriums with these subdivisions, with these contractors who want to build out all of these new homes. And townhomes and apartments and all of the above. Right.
Well, it's one, you know, nobody wants to stop progress, but there's that smart growth. You're about smart growth all the time.
Right.
Is it smart growth to literally put concrete anywhere and everywhere you possibly can? Because that's kind of what it seems like to a lot of people is happening in their part of the world, and it's just increasing the flood potential. I mean, I know very well, you know, in our part of the world, why we flooded is it was backwater flooding. It was that big chunk of water coming down from the northern part of the basin and flooding everything, and then obviously the A-meet, the Co-meet, and then dumping into the lakes, had nowhere to go, and that backwater flood. And because there was nowhere else for the water to go, you had already a lot of concrete buildup. And my little part of the world, Jones Creek, decided it was going to be angry and spill out into the neighborhood. So what got better since then? Well, in a lot of people's minds, nothing has gotten better. We've had more construction and not a lot of flood mitigation efforts, not a lot of construction meant for flood projects happening. Where's the money? That's a conversation that's been happening as well. Some has been allocated, it just has not been spent yet. A lot of red tape to get through.
Not only that, it's the issue of how do we best spend this money and what is the most effective solution here. So Livingston Parish President Leighton Ricks was talking about, well, we've ordered some new things, like people have to now build their homes a foot off the ground.
Sure,
we're talking about specific rules to make it a little bit more difficult if the water were to come again for that to get into people's homes. So little things like that. But when you talk about money at a congressional level of how can an entire parish, how can an entire region avoid the issues that happen, like in your case, like, not in Livingston, but the backwater flooding issue. How do we prevent stuff like that? Right,
and so if you look at, for instance, Jones Creek, that's one of the big ticket items when it comes to East Baton Rouge and fixing some of the problems. It is one of the areas targeted for a big redo. Jones Creek, that whole area, you're going to concrete up a bunch of this stuff, make it easier to get the water get through there, dig up some of this stuff. But they're also talking about in East Baton Rouge, and we've talked about this as well, for some of those homes that flooded, depending on where they are in the flood zone, should they be made to raise their house? I don't mean raise their house, demolish, I mean literally raise their house. And so some people have gotten those letters in the mail. We've talked about that. Okay, great, fine, but you know, I've already rebuilt my house.
What does that mean?
With the knowledge and understanding that I didn't have to. And now you're telling me I do have to? What is that going to cost me? I've already done everything. Now you're telling me I have to raise? Oh, there's just a lot going on, conversations coming in from a bunch of different directions. And again, 5 years out, still a lot happening.
That's it. And we still hope to find these solutions and hear about what's going on. But again, hard to believe that it has been 5 years. So please let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
In the comments, if you're watching this later on
Yeah.
and you want to share your story, please. We'd love to read them later on. We know it's a kind of a hard time to look back on because for a lot of people it was very traumatic.
It really is,
Yeah.
and it's still, and you know, to this day, it starts raining, and if it rains for any more than about 20 minutes in my part of the world, I start exactly. You just got that. You flash back real quick,
Right.
and you know. So anyway, yeah, we get it. Send it in, and we'd love to have the conversation because this conversation is far from over.
That's it.
Yep.
So please stay dry.
Yeah,
Rain
try.
coming in today. Not
Yeah.
going to be like anything what we saw
No.
5 years ago.
No.
Please stay dry. Have a good day. We will see you mañana.